On to chapter 4. This is called I'll Jolly Well Make You a Duke. Looks like the king and Johnny. Chapter 5. Poor King Theophilus. He found himself between a rock and a hard place. On one side was his daughter, quite determined that her new pet should be a palace pig. On the other hand, his wife, who, after her bout of hysterics upon learning of this, had served him upon him the following ultimatum: if that dirty, ugly, dumb animal sets Trotter inside these walls, Theo, the queen had said, then out I go. There isn't room for both of us. But my dear Eth, said the king, we have 240 rooms in this palace. Which, replied the queen, is not going to be turned into a pigsty. Next morning, meeting his daughter as she returned from the royal mews, the king said to her, "You were joking, weren't you, Penelope, about your new pet? I forget its name." Lollipop. About Lollipop becoming a palace pig? It was just a joke, wasn't it? No, said the princess. But, said the king, your mother does not wish it. Well, I do, Daddy. But, said the king, it'll make messes everywhere. There's the king and the queen. The queen's not happy. No, it won't, said the princess. I'm having it palace trained. By that boy, do you mean? I forget his name. Johnny Skinner. I have just given him orders about it. Lollipop should soon be able to leave the stall and live with us. But Penelope, said the king, if she does, your mother has said she will leave us. You must tell her not to, then, said the Princess Penelope. After all, Daddy, your word is law. She smiled sweetly. I always do everything you tell me, don't I? She said. King Theophilus took a deep breath. Well, darling, he said, I'm telling you now, you cannot bring that pig into the palace. He waited nervously for the outburst that must surely follow. Would she go into a terrible sulk? Would she shout and yell at him? Would she throw things? Once, in a fury, she had kicked his shins. He drew back a pace or two. But to his surprise, the princess only gave him another sweet smile. Didn't you hear what I said? Asked the king. Yes, said the princess, but I'm not going to take a bit of notice of it. And off she went. The king shut himself in his study. What am I to do? He said out loud. Why must this child be so unreasonable? There he is, thinking. He's not happy. Whoop. A hard time finding the right. There you go. Who is there that might make her see sense? Wait, though, what about that boy? Suppose I told him I didn't want the pig to be palace trained. He'd be bound to do what I told him, wouldn't he? So he sent for Johnny Skinner. Johnny, of course, had never been inside the palace before, and now, as he followed the footman who had brought the message to the mews, he looked around him in wonder at all the rich furnishings, at the ornaments of gold and silver, at the portraits of the king's ancestors looking down at him from the tapestried walls, and felt beneath his feet the thick softness of the priceless carpets upon which, if all went well, Lollipop would be walking before long. There's what the inside of the palace looked like. Come in, cried the king in a hearty voice when the footman opened the door. Sit down, Johnny, my boy. Make yourself comfortable. How are you? Well, I hope? Yes, sir, said Johnny. And your pig? She's well, sir, said Johnny, but she's not my pig any more. No, of course not. Quite so, said the king. But though you're no longer her owner, you are nevertheless her trainer, are you not? Yes. You teach her things, don't you? Yes, sir, replied Johnny. I'm teaching her something new now. What? I'm house training her. Palace training, you mean? Said the king. Yes. Are you telling me that you'll be able to teach her never to do anything indoors? Yes, sir. Like a well-trained dog, you mean? Johnny nodded. If you really can do that, thought the king, then Eth won't have anything to complain about. Maybe Penelope will get her own way after all, like she always does. Johnny, said the king, tell me honestly, would you say that my daughter is a bit spoiled? No. Oh, what would you say then? That she is very spoiled indeed. She needs to be taught to think more about other people and less about herself. Dead right, thought the king. Could you teach her, do you think? He said. I might be able to. If you can, Johnny, said King Theophilus, I'll jolly well make you a duke. End of chapter 5.